Hi, I would like to welcome you to the Special Topics course in Communication Studies this summer on working with animals. Only the working is kind of in parentheses. So we're going to talk about people who work with animals and working animals. You see, I have my assistants here. I have two working animals, or at least they come from a species of animal that has done an enormous amount of work in human society. Mine are still in training, and we'll talk more about the kind of work that we plan to be doing as the course progresses. So I just wanted to give you an overview. We'll be doing some reading. You have been asked to buy a book called The Equine Legacy, which looks at horses, donkeys, and mules in the history of the United States, and a book about zoos and the culture of zoos that was written by a sociologist that talks about the people who work there, the people who visit, the animals who live there. And so with those two books give you a little bit of an introduction to different kinds of research methods. And we will practice a number of different research methods, as well as just discussing the things that I assign. So this is Sasha, and Martha is currently sniffing my tripod. So if it falls over, you'll know why. Donkeys are very, very curious, and they are just not really understanding who I'm talking to if I'm not talking to them, because generally I'm talking to them if there are no other people here. So we'll read those two books. You've also been assigned a book that was edited by Professor Christopher Bollinger of the Communication Studies Department that will give you some insight into ethnographic research methods as we practice them. So what we're going to start out with, we'll be using the forums on the portal for discussion of things we know and things we learn. And so the first thing we're going to do is look at posting on all the work that you can think of that animals perform in human society. Before you ever get started with your reading, let's just think about what you already know animals do. And the second thing we'll talk about before we really get started with our reading is what kind of jobs humans have that put them in contact with animals in a substantial way in their job. After that, we'll read several chapters of the Equine Legacy and talk about some of the history of the United States from the earlier colonial period through World War II. And then we'll have a discussion of those chapters on the portal. Then we'll look at the chapter on animal entertainers briefly while you start doing some of your own field work. So you have two main field work assignments. One will be to find a person who does work with animals and interview them. And we'll talk more about what that will entail, and you'll have an example. And the other will be doing an observation of the interactions between animals and humans in a television show or a movie that features animals working with humans. With both of those, then you'll look at the work that other people in your class have done and see if you can come up with themes that emerge from the observations that people make of the interviews and observations of television shows or movies. And after we do that, we'll talk about the zoo. We'll talk about animal welfare in specific and look at one approach to animal welfare of working with animals and working animals, and discuss what we think we mean by animal welfare. This will take us a little bit into a discussion of the difference between advocating for animal welfare and advocating for animal rights. So after we talk about animal welfare in general, then you'll begin to do a bit of research of your own. And the research project that you'll do will involve some looking for scholarly resources on either one particular working animal or one particular job that is working with animals. And you will find research articles, summarize them, and post about them in the forum on the website for the benefit of all the people in the class. And then at the very end of the class, you'll write a 5-page paper where you summarize what you've learned and create a bibliography. So all the papers that you do in the class, and there'll be a couple of short ones and then this one longer one, will be expected to follow academic conventions. And I'll do another video where I talk about what I actually expect about how you'll turn in your papers and what the format that they will take. There will be plenty of time for you to ask additional questions, and there will be other videos that you can look at to see what I think we're up to this semester. But overall, I have 2 main goals for our course. One is that you will have a broader understanding of the work and relationships of animals in society with humans. And the second one is that you will have either an introduction to or additional practice in 2 ethnographic research field methods. And you will have practice in looking up scholarly literature in popular literature that addresses the topic of interest to you, that you will learn proper academic format and practice some analysis. So, welcome to Working with Animals, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you all either in the forums or in videos or in emails if you choose to contact me.